How are you? And welcome to another video from The Open Author. My name is David B. Lyons, and today we're going to be discussing how you can avoid distractions while you are writing. Now, I have to be honest with you, over my 14 or 15 years of teaching this particular subject, creative writing, in colleges and universities, I haven't really had to discuss this topic. It wasn't part of any curriculum. But I have noticed since I've been teaching online for the past year, a lot of people ask me this specific question because I guess with the modern age and modern technology, there seems to be an awful lot of distraction out there, and people are finding it more difficult to sort of discipline themselves and to just literally start tapping away at the keyboard and producing their novel. So I have come up with 5 key areas that you can take on board to ensure you don't get distracted. So why don't we get straight down to it? Okay, so how to avoid distractions when you are writing. Okay, simply put, I mean, this is a different ball game. Writing novels now is a different ball game than it was 20 years ago or so. Back in the day, particularly the rich period of the literature industry, the great writers, they were writing on typewriters, so they didn't have any distraction, did they? They literally just had keys and a piece of rolling paper in front of them. Now, of course, we tend to write on laptops, and laptops offer a fucking array of different distractions from the internet, of course, different apps and games and social media. So we do have more distraction, and I'm going to talk you through how you can limit that now. So tip number 1 to avoid distractions when you're writing is decide on a writer's room and a writer's schedule. Now, for an awful lot of people who have used my services or who I've taught in the past, you will notice this is one of the very, very first things I ever said to you. And that is because finding an environment to write from is key. You're not really going to start writing a novel if you don't find an environment to write in. So to avoid distractions, whether that's because you have 3 kids at home, a set of twins, and another 3-year-old girl who burst in and out of your room all the time, and a wife or a husband, husbands are probably worse, but whatever your environment is at home, you're going to be distracted, okay? So you need to not necessarily have a writing desk, but have a writing environment, whether that's you locking yourself away in your bedroom because that's the only space you can find, whether that is taking your laptop down to the local cafe and sipping over a hot chocolate or coffee, or whether that's you setting up in the kitchen on your dining room. Whatever it is, it's absolutely pivotal that you give yourself a writing environment, and that you're not just taking up the laptop, sitting on the couch, opening it up and typing away while, you know, Loose Women is on in the background. It's not just picking up the laptop every now and then and thinking, you know what, I might trash out 400 words here. That's a real sloggy approach to writing a novel, and the chances are you'll get bogged down by that. You'll be easily distracted, and it's going to be very, very tough slog to get to those 80,000 words that you want to complete a novel. So if you give yourself specific times to write from, where you decide, right, I'm definitely going to write from 10 a.m. till 11 a.m. every Saturday morning, and I'm going to do the same on Sunday morning. Tuesday nights, I don't need to catch up with Emmerdale and EastEnders anymore because soaps are shit now and I don't watch them anymore. So you might say, right, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. So that's 3 hours you've given yourself. What I want you to do is go to your writing environment, whether that's, you know, the kitchen table, as I said, or your bedroom, or whatever it is that you can get comfortable and secluded from the rest of the house, the rest of the family, and just write for those 3 hours. Well, then that's going to be a massive help, a huge stride forward in you completing this novel. So be distraction free from family or friends or roommates or whoever it is you live with, okay? So give yourself that solitary environment, give yourself that massive advantage. Write out a little timetable where you can schedule in times that you're going to write, and when those times come around, lock yourself into that writing environment, whatever room it is, open up the laptop and get typing. Now, when you open up the laptop, of course, as I mentioned, there are another array of distractions there, but I'm going to go through how you can avoid them now. But tip number one, and this is key, and this is the first thing, as I said, I do with any students or anybody who has sought my services or my help over the years. You have to write out a writing schedule for yourself and find your writing environment. It's key, because if you stick to that, the chances of you completing that novel just rise exponentially. It's going to be a huge advantage to you. So number one key tip to avoid distractions so you can get this novel down: write out a writing schedule, find your writing environment and stick to it. Now, tip number two when it comes to avoiding distractions is eliminate background noise. Now, I've probably already touched on this by saying find your writing environment, because when you do find your writing environment, you're obviously going to pick somewhere that's quite secluded. Now, I don't know about you, I'm a typical man, a stereotypical man when it comes to this. I just need full focus on my page, because any distraction will just sort of irritate my brain. It will pull me out of what I'm writing, and then I'll get frustrated and annoyed that I can't get back into the zone that I was in. But there's an awful lot of people, not me, I have to say, but an awful lot of writers that I've spoken to over the years, they use a bit of music in the background that will help sort of eliminate any other noise coming. So those twins that you have and that 3-year-old girl, or noise in the coffee shop, or whatever it is that's annoying you at home or from your writing environment, any other background noise, the music can soak that up and eliminate it for you. So there are an array of playlists on Spotify, and you can just type in soft jazz music and you can play that at a certain volume if that will help you focus on the page. Somebody told me about a good Spotify playlist, I think it was coffee table jazz, so check that one out. There's also a playlist on Spotify called Deep Focus. Now, I only heard about this a couple of months ago and I listened to it, and it does actually help you focus. Now, I have to admit, hold my hands up and say I don't use it. I don't use music because I'm lucky enough to have this space that I work from all the time, which is very secluded. It's in the loft of our house. It's an office I've set up for myself to write. It's noise free because my wife and my daughter are downstairs. So I'm lucky enough to have a secluded environment. But if you don't, and noise is an issue, and you think you need a little more help in focusing just on the page that you're typing up, try out a Spotify playlist. Play it at a kind of a low volume that will help you just sort of click into gear and focus on the page. So music doesn't help me, I have to admit, but it does help an awful lot of writers that I speak to. So you may well have the same frame of mind as them. If you do, well then finding a Spotify playlist as background music may well help you focus and avoid any distractions. Now, tip number 3 when it comes to avoiding distraction is turn off your Wi-Fi. Now, I'm pretty sure that when you clicked on this video, you assumed this tip was going to pop up at some stage, and aren't you so great, oh wise open author, to suggest I should turn off my Wi-Fi? Yes, but the thing is, some people don't do it. Some people just open up their laptop, begin writing, they write 200 words and then go, Facebook. And then they click into Facebook, and it's so easy. There's so many lanes, so many avenues your mind can go down when your laptop is open and on. Very simple to turn off the Wi-Fi. So I suggested that the second tip I gave you, background music, doesn't work for me. Turning off the Wi-Fi absolutely works for me, and I would say it's an imperative tip to pass down to any future author. So do take it on board. As soon as you open up your laptop to begin writing, turn off the Wi-Fi. Now, I know when I've given this tip in the past, students have said to me, but what if I need to do a bit of research? Listen, don't do the research until after the work is done, after the words are down. So if you are looking for the name of a petrol station because you're typing about a character's meeting at a petrol station, you can't quite think of one, and you want to Google it, just leave it blank. And you can come back to the Googling for research later on once you have your words down. So don't open up the Wi-Fi for any reason I want you to just focus on getting the words down, and you can come back over it in future edits. So turn off the mobile phone. That should also go without saying. Turn off the Wi-Fi of the laptop. Now there are some apps that you can download which really help with this. Now I'll hold my hands up. I don't possess any of these apps. I haven't downloaded them because I am quite disciplined at turning off my phone. In fact, I don't even have my phone in the room with me at the moment. I quite often don't when I'm writing or working. And I turn off my Wi-Fi. But there are apps called, what's it called? The Freedom app. So if you download Freedom app, what that will allow you to do is to turn off your Wi-Fi or block certain apps for a certain amount of time. So if you think, I'm going to write for an hour now and I want to eliminate any distractions I can possibly have, you can input into the Freedom app to turn off all your apps and your Wi-Fi for 60 minutes. And then that's you done. And then it will automatically just click back into gear when your 60 minutes are up and you're ready to go back downstairs and enjoy the world. So do check that app out, Freedom app, if you don't find you're going to be disciplined enough to avoid the distractions of your phone and the many avenues that your laptop can lead you down. But it is quite simple to just scroll up to the top of your laptop, click turn Wi-Fi off, and hold down the button on your mobile phone to make sure your mobile phone is turned off, and you are eliminating so many distractions by doing that. I know it's a no-brainer of a tip, but I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to eyeball the lens of my camera and say you need to do this. If you want to take your writing serious and you really want to get that novel finished, get rid of the Wi-Fi while you're working on it. Now, I'm going to move on to the next tip, which is plot. Now, this is a tip that sort of divides the writing cohorts in some way, the fraternity of writers. I've mentioned this to you in videos before. There are what is known in the industry as plotters and pantsers, and they're the two different methods or avenues that people take to write their novels. So plotters are people who plot out where their story arc is going to go, and pantsers, fly by the seat of your pants, are people who just type and let the story take them wherever their fingers take them. So my idea to avoid distraction is to plot, because an awful lot of people who are pantsing their way through a story, and listen, there are fantastic writers out there who pants. I'm just teaching people here to write their first novel, and I highly recommend plotting it out before you do. But how this ties into avoiding distractions is rather simple, really. If you're pantsing and you're typing away and then you hit a bit of a roadblock and you're trying to figure out where will I take my story from here, if you're taking yourself away from the keys and just into your mind, well, what you'll find is the avenues for distraction become highlighted. So suddenly you're away from the keys, you're going into your mind, and then suddenly your mind can lead you in a million different directions. So I want you to sort of avoid that stopping typing by plotting out quite heavily. Now, it doesn't have to be super heavy, but if you have a few bullet points that you know this chapter that you're working on is going to go down or going to follow, well, then you are giving yourself the best opportunity of completing that chapter without many distractions. So you're going to keep on the keys, you're going to keep typing away without that sort of pantsing method where you are typing a paragraph and then coming away and rethinking about where your arc is going to go or how your plot is going to develop from here. So if you have it plotted out, well, then you are giving yourself the best opportunity to finish that chapter distraction free. Now, I'm a big advocate for plotting, and I understand that there are writers out there who don't really agree with that, but if you are trying to write your first novel, plotting it out gives you massive advantage. It really does. I preach about plotting, but really all I do is write maybe 3 bullet points to say, okay, in this chapter, this character, this is what's going to happen this character, this is what's going to happen this character, and this is probably where my story is going to go. And that's it. So I just have 3 bullet points to wake up to the next day, and it gives me a huge advantage to write the 2,000 words or thereabouts that are right for that chapter. So plotting is a huge help when it comes to eliminating any distractions you may face when it comes to writing that novel. Now, the last tip I'm going to give you is don't edit when you're writing your first draft. So what I mean by this is you might have been working on essays for college or university or school or whatever you did in the past, and what you find is you're writing a paragraph and then you realise there's red squiggly lines under about 3 or 4 words, and you scroll back up, fix those words, and then go, what was my next paragraph going to be about? So you're sort of slodging your way through it in a way. Fuck the red squiggly lines, okay? Leave them as they are until you're finished that chapter. So what I'm saying is just get the words down. So if you think you made a mistake, it doesn't matter. Continue, keep going. Because if you're stopping to go back and edit, stopping to go back and edit, stopping to go back and edit as you're going through it, you're opening up the chances of being distracted in a big way. So my advice is to just get the first draft down. When it comes to spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes or punctuation errors, you can catch them in the next draft. In fact, I'll open up about how I do it. So I will sit for an hour every morning. First thing I do after breakfast is I'll write a chapter. Now that chapter is going to be full of red squiggly lines because I'm typing as quick as I can. I'm trying to get 2,000 words down. And then I will take a break from it, and then I'll come back to it, and then I will fix that chapter technically, so spelling, grammar and punctuation errors. But I am not coming away from my page to fix them as I'm writing. So I will get to that again, just not as I'm writing, because my full focus should be on getting my story down. So another big tip for you is don't be going back to edit as you're writing that first draft. Just get the story down and come back to fixing some mistakes at a later date. So I hope these tips will help you in some way. We are distracted more now than we could ever have been in the history of mankind because there's so many distractions literally on the devices that we work from. So do eliminate them as much as you can. I mean, just to go back over what I said, give yourself a quiet environment to work from. Give yourself certain times to work from and stick to them. Turning off Wi-Fi is very simple. Turning off your phone is very simple. Perhaps give yourself the advantage, if it works for you, of some background music, and do not stop. Don't stagnate. Don't go back to edit things, because you're going to disturb your mindset and you're going to disturb your flow as you're going. And if you stick to those 5 tips, you're basically giving yourself the best advantage you can give to finishing that debut novel. So very best of luck with the debut novel. As I say to you on many occasions, on every video that I do, you can hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube by clicking that red button, and these videos will pop into your account, sort of fluff, as soon as I upload them to YouTube. Check out my website, theopenauthor.com. There's an array of free advice that I offer there, as well as some services that I offer if you are serious about writing that first book. So don't be afraid to get in contact with me. My email is on that website, and I hope to hear from you via email, or perhaps I'll just see you at the next video. Talk to you soon.